Imagine this. You spend 12 years in school, thousands of hours learning things. You memorize the periodic table. You solve quadratic equations. You can name every bone in the human body. But then you graduate, and you still don't know how to file your taxes. You don't know what a credit score actually is. You don't know why the money sitting in your savings account is quietly losing value every single year. And here's the part that nobody talks about. This is not an accident. Stay with me. Completely change the way I think about money. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let's think about what school actually teaches you. History, science, geography, literature, mathematics. All important things. Nobody's arguing that. But here's a question worth asking. When was the last time you used the Pythagorean theorem? When did you last need to name the capital of a country you've never visited? Now compare that to money. Every single day, every single one, you make decisions about money. You earn it, you spend it, you borrow it, you worry about it. Whether you're in New York or New Delhi, London or Lagos, money touches every part of your life. And yet, most schools around the world spend almost zero time teaching you how it actually works. Not how to earn it, not how to grow it, not how debt traps people, not what inflation does to your savings, not the difference between an asset and a liability. Nothing. And this is not just an American problem. Ask someone in India, in Brazil, in the UK. Most people will tell you the same thing. Financial education was never really on the curriculum. So today, we're going to fix that. We're going to break down the money system in a way that's simple, honest, and most importantly, useful. Because here's the thing. The rules of money are not that complicated. They're just never explained. Let's change that. Let me tell you about someone. We'll call him Alex. Alex is a smart guy, works hard, does everything right by the book. He went to school, studied hard, and got a decent job at 22. Starting salary, around $40,000 a year. Pretty solid for a young person just starting out. His first month, he gets his paycheck. He pays rent, buys groceries, gets his phone plan. Maybe goes out with friends a couple of times. And at the end of the month, he has about $200 left over. He puts that $200 in his savings account. Feels good about it. This goes on for years. Alex works hard, gets a few raises, maybe hits $55,000 by his late 20s. He's doing okay. But here's the thing. He never feels financially free. He's always one unexpected expense away from stress. One car repair, one medical bill, 1 month of job uncertainty. And Alex doesn't understand why. He's not wasting money. He's not irresponsible. He's doing exactly what everyone told him to do. Get a good job. Work hard. Save what you can. But nobody told Alex the second half of the equation. Nobody explained how money actually grows, or shrinks, over time. Nobody told him about inflation quietly eating his savings. Nobody explained the difference between money that works for you and money that just sits there. Alex's story isn't unique. It's the story of millions of people all over the world, working hard their entire lives and still feeling like they can never quite get ahead. So what's missing? Let's break it down. Here's the basics, stuff that should be taught in every school, but isn't. First, income and expenses. Income is what comes in. Expenses are what goes out. Simple enough. But here's where most people stop thinking. The real question is, what happens to the gap between income and expenses? Most people save what's left over. The problem is, saving money isn't the same as growing money. And that brings us to the first concept you need to understand. Inflation. Inflation just means that things get more expensive over time. A $100 grocery run today might cost $110 in 2 or 3 years. Sounds small. But think about it this way. If your money is sitting in a savings account earning almost nothing, and prices are rising by 3 to 4% every year, your money is actually losing value. Every year. It's like running on a treadmill. You're moving, but the belt is going faster than your legs. You stay in the same spot. This is why keeping all your money in cash or a basic savings account is a strategy that slowly works against you. But here is where it gets interesting. Second, debt. Not all debt is evil, But most people are never taught the difference between debt that hurts you and debt that can be used carefully. Bad debt is simple. You borrow money to buy something that goes down in value, and you pay interest on top of that. Think of buying a brand new car on credit, or carrying a balance on a high-interest credit card. You're paying extra for something that's worth less and less every year. That's a double loss. Good debt, and this needs to be handled with care, is when the thing you borrow for has the potential to grow in value or generate income. A business loan, in some cases real estate. The borrowed money has a purpose beyond just consumption. Most people were never taught this distinction. Third, and this might be the most important concept of all, assets versus liabilities. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out. A rental property that generates rent. Asset. A loan you're paying interest on. Liability. Stocks that pay dividends. Asset. A luxury car that costs you in insurance, maintenance, and depreciation every month. Liability. People who build wealth spend their lives accumulating assets. They use money to make more money. Most people, without ever being told, spend their lives accumulating liabilities. Things that look good, but cost them month after month. And it's not their fault. Nobody explained the difference. Now let's make this real with some numbers. Meet two people, Maria and James. Same age, 25. Same starting salary, $40,000 a year. Same $200 available to set aside each month. Maria does what she was taught. She puts her $200 every month into a regular savings account, earning about 1% interest per year. James spends 6 months learning about investing. He puts his $200 every month into a simple index fund, a collection of stocks that tracks the broader market, averaging around 7% annual returns over time. That's actually a conservative estimate for long-term market averages. Let's fast forward 10 years. Maria now has roughly $26,000 saved. Not bad, she's been disciplined. James has about $34,000. But it gets more interesting. Fast forward to age 55. 30 years later. Maria's savings account has grown to around $83,000. That's 3 decades of discipline. James's investment account? Roughly $227,000. Same income, same $200 a month. The only difference is where the money went and what it was doing while it sat there. Now, investing isn't a guaranteed win. Markets go up and down. There's real risk involved. Nobody should put money into investments they don't understand or can't afford to lose. That's important. But the core idea stands. Money that is working almost always outperforms money that is just sitting there. And most people never learned this because nobody ever showed them the numbers. Here's what I want you to sit with for a second. Alex works hard his entire career and never quite escapes financial stress. Maria saves diligently for 30 years and builds a decent cushion. James learns the rules, applies them consistently, and ends up with nearly 3 times more. Not because he was smarter, not because he worked harder, but because someone showed him how the system works. The problem is not that people don't work hard enough. Most people work incredibly hard. The problem is that millions of people are playing a game without ever being shown the rulebook. They're running a race without knowing the course, and then society asks them why they're falling behind. It's like handing someone a business with no instructions, no training, no manual, and then blaming them when things go wrong. You deserve to know this earlier. Most people did. But here's the good news. It's never too late to learn. And understanding this is the first step to changing it. And before anyone thinks this is only an American issue, it absolutely is not. Millions of families save in cash, avoid banking systems, and have no exposure to investment vehicles. Not because they're not smart or hardworking, but because nobody built the bridge between them and that knowledge. In the UK, in Nigeria, in Indonesia, in Brazil, the story rhymes. People are graduating from school systems that taught them the history of empires, but not how compound interest works. Systems that explained photosynthesis, but not how to read a paycheck. This is a global gap. And closing it, even a little, changes lives. Because when people understand money, they make better decisions. They borrow smarter. They save with purpose. They stop handing their financial future to chance. Knowledge is the great equalizer. And financial knowledge might be the most practical kind there is. All right, let's get practical. If you're sitting here thinking, okay, I get it, but what do I actually? Here's a simple starting point. 1. Learn the language. You don't need a finance degree, but spend a few hours understanding the basics: income, expenses, assets, liabilities, debt, interest, inflation. Once these words aren't scary, everything else gets clearer. 2. Track where your money goes. For 1 month, write down every single thing you spend money on. Most people are shocked, not because they're irresponsible, but because they had no idea. Awareness is the foundation of everything. 3. Build a small emergency fund. Before investing, before anything else, have money saved that you don't touch. 3 to 6 months of basic living expenses. This is your buffer against life surprises. 4. Understand your debt. If you have high interest debt, credit cards especially, that's the first thing to address. The interest rates on most credit cards are so high that any investment return would likely be wiped out by what you're paying just to carry the balance. 5. Start learning about investing, even if you start small. Index funds, retirement accounts, real estate. There are many paths. None of them require being wealthy to begin. The key is to start learning, and start early, even if it's just $50 a month. 6. Invest in yourself. This one gets overlooked. The highest return on investment most people will ever get is on their own skills. A new skill, a better qualification, a side ability that opens new doors. These compound too. None of this is a get-rich-quick formula. It's not meant to be. It's the slow, steady, unglamorous way that financial freedom actually gets built. One informed decision at a time. So let's come back to where we started. 12 years of school, thousands of hours, and almost nothing about how money actually works. Was this a grand conspiracy? Probably not. The real explanation is simpler and, in some ways, more frustrating. Systems teach what they're designed to teach. Financial education wasn't prioritized, and many people paid for that gap with decades of stress, confusion, and missed opportunity. But here's what matters now. You have access to information that previous generations didn't. You can learn, you can adapt, and you can make different choices starting today. Money is just a tool. And like any tool, it works best when you understand how to use it. The question was never whether the money system exists. It does. It's been running the whole time. The real question is whether you're going to learn how it works and start using it to your advantage. And the fact that you watched this far tells me you're already doing that. If this changed the way you think about money even a little, drop a comment below. Tell me, what's the one thing about money you wish someone had taught you earlier? And if you want more honest breakdowns like this one, subscribe, because there's a lot more to cover. And we're just getting started.